In today's episode, I interview Samantha Foote. She's the CEO of Boise Music Therapy Company, and she shares her journey as an entrepreneur and the challenges and advantages of being neurodivergent. She discusses her ADHD diagnosis and how it has shaped her approach to running her business. Samantha also provides strategies for neurodivergent business owners to reduce overwhelm and increase focus. She emphasizes the importance of outsourcing tasks and seeking help as needed. Additionally, she highlights the impact of neurodivergency on her company's services and operations. In this episode, Samantha and I talk about music therapy, ADHD, entrepreneurship, and all the things that go into managing your job and being successful when you're a neurodivergent entrepreneur. Samantha offers some advice for people navigating networking events and emphasizes the importance of self-awareness and getting help when you're running a business. Samantha offers advice for neurodivergent individuals, especially while navigating social situations such as networking events. We had a really good conversation. She had lots of great strategies for you. I hope you enjoy it. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Accidental CEO podcast, where we bridge the gap between the creativity you love and the CEO mindset you need. I'm your host, Nada Salvatore, wedding photographer and business educator. Find full show notes and resources at accidentalceopod.com. Let's get into today's episode. Hey everybody, welcome to the Accidental CEO podcast. Today I have Samantha Foote with me, and she is going to tell you all the good things about being a business owner, being an entrepreneur, with some maybe troubles and struggles and things that we actually all have to deal with. So welcome, Samantha.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about who you are. What do you do now? What are you the CEO of?
Yeah, I own Boise Music Therapy Company. We obviously do music therapy, parent coaching, and behavior intervention. We started out 11 years ago just doing music therapy, and then we added the other services.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am just managing that. I have employees now and wasn't expecting any of it. When I opened my business, I was just like, I don't want to work for other music therapists. I just want to do my own thing. And now it's grown to more than that.
Yes, that happens to a lot of us.
Yeah.
But tell us a little bit about how, before you own your own business, where were you before, and what was kind of what led to the transition of you owning your own business?
Yeah, I have always planned on being a business owner just because I came from a family of entrepreneurs. Like everyone in my mom's family, everyone in my dad's family, they've all owned their own businesses. But after I graduated college, I was like, I need to work for someone to understand how the music therapy world works. I need to, hone my skills as a music therapist. And I started working for someone and I was like, this is not working. Just the things that they wanted me to do, I was like, I could do this differently. I don't want to say better, but in my mind, it was better. I worked for someone for about a year and a half. And then I took some time off from them. I got a different job, not even related to music therapy. And then I opened my own business after that. But while it was getting started, I also started working at a developmental disability agency. And I love that job. I loved it. And so I stayed there while operating my business. And yeah, so that's how it all got started where I was before. And
do you feel like staying on that job that you actually enjoyed while you're building your business gave you a little bit of a security feeling and a little bit more freedom to maybe start things on your own business?
Yeah, so I wasn't worried about making money. I wasn't worried about getting clients, as many as I needed to support myself. So I was able just to do the things that I wanted to do in my business without worrying about supporting myself while doing it.
Yeah, what a gift.
For sure.
Not everybody has the chance to do that. And well, some people get to stay at their job, but a lot of times they're in a miserable position. Like they don't want to be there. They're just there because they have to, like, to help pay the bills while they build their own business. But you had this great opportunity to actually be in a place that you enjoyed and was having fun while you help structure your business. So that's great.
Yeah, it also taught me, because I was a supervisor in that business. And so it taught me how to manage employees. It taught me about the developmental disability world and just about Medicaid in general, because most of our services are paid by Medicaid. And it just really taught me how to run my business better. So it was really a gift.
Win-win for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Can you share your journey discovering your ADHD diagnosis and how it has shaped your approach to entrepreneurship and running the Boys Music Therapy Company?
That was definitely a journey. I always felt like I was a little bit different growing up. Like I would have friends, but we didn't they were like school friends, so we'd hang out at school, but I wouldn't hang out with them outside of school unless it was like at a church thing or a group thing. I just never like hung out one-on-one with people. And I always felt like people didn't like me, that they were pretending to like me. And that's important because I'm diagnosed with ADHD and OCD. And in ADHD, there's this thing called rejection sensitivity dysphoria. And you just think that no one likes you. And that was my whole reality growing up. I was like, everyone's just pretending to like me. No one really likes me. And so, but my mom was just like, you're fine, you're fine. Everyone's like that. And it turns out it's because neurodivergence is genetic. And so that was her experience. And so like everyone's like that. That's just how life is. But then after I got married and had kids, my coping skills they weren't enough anymore. And so I did seek help, and they diagnosed me with OCD. And I'm like, I really feel like I might have ADHD. And it took 10 years for a provider to do an assessment with me. Like they refused to even do the assessment.
Wow.
And then they're like, you don't need an assessment unless you want medication, and you don't need medication. So I said, okay, well, I'll just deal with it then. And then I was on medication for my thyroid, and it wasn't working. The provider said, this should be working unless you have ADHD. And I'm like, well, about that, I think I do have ADHD. So she did an assessment. She's like, yeah, you definitely do. And I'm not saying that medication is for everyone, but it changed my life once I got it. I was able to actually focus, not have the decision paralysis, where you want to do something, but your body just won't do it. And that was gone. I was able to do the things I needed to do. I was able to focus. I wasn't having like a million tabs opened in my brain. Yeah. So that was kind of my journey getting diagnosed, and before and after.
Wow. What were some of the things that you were feeling and recognizing that made you think that you had ADHD?
I was always busy in my brain. My brain never shut off. It was constantly going, constant racing thoughts, constant like, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. And then I would get so overwhelmed with all the thoughts that I just wouldn't do anything. And I'd just sit on the couch and I'd doom scroll on my phone, thinking like, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. And then the rejection sensitivity dysphoria, I just felt like nobody liked me. Like I'd go to networking events and people would come and say hi to me, and they're like, hi, how are you doing? Like trying to talk to me. And I'm like, you're just pretending. So why bother with this? In women, ADHD presents as hyperactivity in the brain, not outwardly. And so that's what was going on in my brain. And then I always was interrupting people, and it was like a compulsion to interrupt someone. So if I got a thought in my head, I had to get it out right then, or else I was going to explode. And I hated it. I hated interrupting people, but it was like I couldn't stop myself. So yeah, and then just, social media is having so many more people come out and talk about neurodivergence and what it's like for them. And so I was listening to all these women's stories, and I'm like, oh, I am just like that. And so that's when I really started trying to get help.
So many entrepreneurs face challenges in just managing their business in general, but being neurodivergent can present a whole unique set of obstacles and strengths. So can you describe a little bit some of the specific challenges you've encountered due to the ADHD and how you turn them into some advantages?
Yes. Two things come to mind. The first thing is I procrastinate to get things done. I procrastinate so bad. Like were getting surveyed. My developmental disability agency was getting surveyed, and I waited until the absolute last second to like actually go through all the files, make sure everything was done. But I got it done, and we passed the survey with flying colors, you know? So I think the challenge is that I procrastinate, but I always get things done. But if something comes up and I need to do it right then, and I need to get it done, I need to get it done well, it gets done. So it's a challenge. It's also like a superpower, I feel like.
Like being
And
able to
then
hyper focus, right?
yeah,
In a short
yeah,
period of time. Mm-hmm.
but I can't hyper focus until there is a specific deadline. Like when I was in college, I remember this one specific paper that I had to write. It was a 10-page research paper. I did not start it until the day before. And I'm talking like 5 p.m. the day before. And
Girl.
I got like an A on it. And my professor was so funny. She was like, I understand that proofreading is really hard and you don't want to proofread it a lot, but I think this could have used like a one more pass over, like pass through. And I'm like, I didn't proofread it once.
You are correct. I
Yeah.
could have done that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I was like,
hard.
yes, I could have read through it more than I did. But that's definitely something that is a challenge, but it's also a strength that, you know, you can get things done when they need to get done. The second thing is so many ideas. I have so many ideas for my business and I want to do all the things, and I can't get something from the beginning to the end. It is so hard for me to like get an idea and then get it all the way to the finish line, because I get another idea and I'm like, oh, well, this would be so much better. No, this would be so much better. And I never actually finish anything. It's good that you get a lot of ideas, you know, but it's hard to actually do them.
Yeah. So if you're in a visionary position where coming up with ideas is, you know, your main role, that can be a huge strength. But if you're in a position where you are a person who has to get things done, that can be a little distracting and challenging.
Yeah. So I have employees and I have people that I like hire to help me with my ideas, so I can be the visionary and I like help it along the way, but they're the ones that are really moving it forward. So I've learned if I want to get things done, I have to have help or else they will not happen.
So you mentioned having some strategies for neurodivergent business owners to reduce the overwhelm and increase their focus. Can you outline for us some of these strategies and just explain how they can be implemented into the daily basis routine of the business?
Yeah. So the first one is regulating emotions through music, and neurodivergent people tend to feel emotions really big. So they're like one extreme to the other. And there's this thing called the ISO principle in music therapy, where if you're feeling one emotion and you want to get to a different emotion, you can use music to get there. If I'm feeling really angry, then I play angry music. So you want to play what you're feeling first. So you play angry music and then you slowly move to the next emotion that you want to feel. So if I want to feel calm, then I'll play angry music and then a little less angry, calm music, and more calm. You don't just want to like turn on calm music, because it doesn't help your body move through the emotions as well, because you need to feel the emotion and then you need to move through it and get to a new emotion. So that's one thing that you can do. And then the second one is to enhance focus and concentration. This is my favorite one. You just pull up. If I listen to music, music from the radio, like let's say pop music while I'm working, I do not get things done. I listen to the words, I'm dancing along with the beat, all of that. But there is music specifically for ADHD people or neurodivergent people on YouTube. And it's like binaural beats. You can just search music for ADHD people on YouTube and it will come up. I really like tongue drum music. They're just tone drums and then people are just playing them. I don't know why, but I never understood what flow meant for people. I could never get in a flow, like, that state where you're just working, nothing distracts you, and you're just going. I very rarely did that. But if I turn on tongue drum music, I can get in that and I can focus and just do my work.
You can get in the zone.
I can get in the zone. And I never experienced that until last year when I was actually putting things into practice that I told people to do. And I was listening to the tongue drum music and I got all my work done. I wasn't opening different tabs. I wasn't looking at my phone, nothing like that. I just did one project for like an hour. I was very surprised that I could do that. So tongue drum music, and you can spell it Tung, or just like your tongue, it comes up both ways. And then, or there's happy drums that are also tongue drums, but it's a specific kind of drum. It's just a name brand. And you can find that music through all those different searches.
Those are great tips and like little things for people to utilize. I want to go back to something that you said in the beginning when you were answering this question. You talked about actually feeling the feeling for a little bit before trying to change. So kind of sitting with that feeling during that song and then slowly transition into the next feeling that you want to get to. So let's talk a little bit about the importance of actually letting that happen, feeling the feeling versus trying to completely ignore it and try to switch it really quickly, and why that is not necessarily a good way to do it.
Yeah, your body needs to feel the emotion. You need to process it, or it's going to keep hanging on to that emotion and you're never going to fully get through it. So you might think you're calm and you might feel calm, but it's still going to be like nagging in your brain that you were so angry and that you're going to perseverate on the thought. So if you really feel it, if you think about the situation and then move on from it, then your mind and your body, or both, are able just to move on from the situation. Because that's another thing, at least for me, I perseverate so hard on things. I just keep thinking about it, thinking about it, and thinking about it. But if I listen to music and I write, and it's not just typing, you have to actually physically write it and write about the situation, I don't perseverate on it anymore. And even if the situation isn't fully solved, I can still move on from it for the time until I need to come back to it.
Do you know why there's a difference between like the typing and actually writing?
I have heard that there's research that just like your brain connects to writing something more than typing it. So when you physically write it, it just does something different in your brain.
Gotcha. Very interesting. So, how has your understanding of the neurodiversity influenced the services and operation model that you have in your company?
The first thing is I have to get help. I have to outsource things or I don't function well. So if I try to do all the things, I get overwhelmed and I can't do them. And then, so I just outsource things. Like I don't do my website anymore. I tried doing that. It was just time consuming. I realized that was not my strength. And so I outsourced it to someone who can do what takes me 2 hours. She can do it in 5 minutes. So I just let her do it. And I realized that maybe at the beginning of your business, you can't do this, but just as soon as you can, get help. So I have help budgeting because I am terrible at budgeting. I can't. Money comes in, I see that it's there, and I'm like, oh, I need this new program. I need this new drum. I need this new something, and I can't just let it stay there. And so I get help with that. I have a supervisor who she runs the developmental disability agency portion of my program because I don't have the bandwidth to do that. And so I've learned that was my job at the old DDA that I worked at. I had her job, but now running my business, I just can't do that and do all the other things that I'm doing. So setting up employees and staff to do the things that I can't do has really helped. And then just the services part, I relate to my clients so well because I specialize in working with neurodivergent kids and adults and their parents. And so it really helps when I'm working with a kid and they're like, you don't understand what I feel like. I'm like, but I do. I do understand what you're going through because I've lived it. And they're like, what how have you lived it? I'm like, well, I have this diagnosis. And I tell them about my diagnosis, and I tell them, like, I'm diagnosed with this. I know it's not the same as what you have, but we do have similarities. I mean, some kids are diagnosed with ADHD, but yeah, that's how it's influenced everything in my business.
Nothing like walking the walk, right? To be able to
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
the talk. It's good. What percentage of your day-to-day is still like patient care?
Well, right now it's a lot higher than normal because I have a music therapist that's out on maternity leave. And so I do music therapy about 20 hours a week, and I work anywhere from 40 to 50 hours a week. So a large majority of my practice, of my working hours, are music therapy right now, but I try to only do music therapy 2 days a week and keep the other days open for like management. And I do parent coaching and stuff, so I'm trying to open up my schedule more to be able to do that, and maybe not work 50 hours a week. That would be nice.
Right?
My kids are 9, 7, and 4, and they're like, Mom, we miss you. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm
Oh,
so sorry. But she is coming back in April, so hopefully things might calm down a little bit after she comes back.
talk about being stabbed in the heart when those kids
I
say
know.
that. You're like, ah.
Yeah, and my son didn't even tell me. He was just, my 7-year-old was just having a meltdown at occupational therapy. And I'm like, what is going on? And so his occupational therapist took him back, and they were like working through things. And she comes out and she said, he needs you to come play a game with him because he just misses you and wants to spend time with you. And he doesn't want to spend time with me because this is a time that you're available to spend time with him. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, just shoot me through the heart because that was awful.
Yes.
So, yes, I'm trying to change that.
We all work on that all the time. I mean, being a mom and a business owner is not easy. I mean, it pulls in your heart all the time.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey there, are you a creative professional looking to elevate your business and artistic vision? Discover the transformative power of personalized coaching tailored specifically for creatives like you. During the sessions, I dive into the unique challenges and goals for your specific business, especially as a creative entrepreneur. That's very important because what you do, it is special and it is different than everybody else. You're going to break through some mental barriers and cultivate a mindset that really nurtures the creativity and resilience of your business. We're going to enable you to thrive in both your personal and professional life. That is my goal for you. If you're ready to embark in an amazing journey of one-on-one coaching with me, hop over to accidentalceo.co and let's get you to be the CEO that you're meant to be. Tell us a little bit more about what does music therapy mean for people that don't know. So I came from a healthcare background, so I'm very aware of what you do, but maybe a lot of our listeners have no idea what that means. And so take us through like what a session looks like and people who would benefit from something like that.
Yeah, so there are music therapists in hospitals like pediatric care, cancer care, assisted living facilities, schools. I work in private practice, and I mainly work with, kids and adults who are neurodivergent, so ADHD, autism, dyslexia, things like that. And music therapy is just working on non-musical goals using music. We use composition, recreation of songs, improvisation with instruments, writing music on GarageBand. That's what I do a lot to process emotions. So one of the things that I do the most is working with kids to understand emotions. For the session, we always start off with a hello activity. For the older kids, they don't want to sing a hello song, so we might improvise on the piano, and just take turns, or not take turns, but just play the piano together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's our hello activity. And then we go into learning about emotions, and that might look like reading a book. I use the Spot books by Diane Albert, and we read about a certain emotion, and then we write a song about it. So we write the lyrics, and the lyrics include things like, what does happiness taste like? What does it smell like? What does it look like? Because a lot of kids who are neurodivergent don't have they have very low flexible thinking. They're very concrete thinkers. So when you say, what does happiness taste like? They're like, happiness doesn't taste like anything. You cannot taste it. So I say, just imagine that you could taste it. What would it taste like? And this is so hard for kids, but I think it's important to increase their flexible thinking. And so we go through, we do that, and then we say, I feel happy when, and they say, we do that 4 times. And then when I'm happy, I can, and then they say things that they can do when they're happy. And so it might be coping skills if they're angry, like when I'm angry, I can scream into a pillow or something like that.
Right.
And then we write the music for the song, and then we improvise using instruments. Like I'll say, what does happiness sound like? And we'll improvise using those instruments. And then we'll do a goodbye, a closing activity to end the session. So that's something that might look like. We also, music therapy, any music therapist can work on communication skills, motor skills, cognitive skills, social, emotional, any of those things we work on. So, with younger kids, I work on speaking. If they're non-speaking, then we might sing songs or sing books. And the goal is that they hum the song, they vocalize during the song at first, and then they might hum the song, and then they might sing the song, and then the hope is that they speak the words, and then they can just speak in everyday conversation. So a really cool example of music therapy that's very public is Gabby Giffords. She was a congresswoman in Arizona that had a traumatic brain injury. And if you want to see a really cool story about music therapy, YouTube her, see her story. Her music therapist worked with her, occupational therapist, physical therapy, speech therapist, and it's just a really cool story of how she was able to heal from her injury.
Awesome. Tell us her name again so people can look it up.
Gabby Giffords.
Gabby Giffords. Perfect. So we know networking and building professional relationships can be difficult, particularly with people that have neurodivergence issues. So what advice do you have for entrepreneurs in this aspect?
Rejection sensitivity dysphoria is real, and you don't want to, for me, I don't want to interrupt people. So networking activities are my nightmare, but you just have to do it. You just have to go and practice, go to like a safer thing for you, whatever that means. So I am part of Polka Dot Powerhouse, and they are just the most friendly group of women I have ever met. And they just want to just include you and all of that. So that's kind of a less threatening approach than I feel like some of the other networking events. But you just have to practice and go and do it and find a friend to go with you maybe, and then you can like conquer it together. That's the only advice that I really have. You just have to practice, and you just have to get comfortable doing it. And the only way you can do that is to go and do it. Networking events, I love talking, and I love talking to people, obviously, but I hate networking events because you walk in and everyone is just talking to each other already, and you don't know when to go up to someone and interrupt them because, like, I don't like to be interrupted, so why would I want someone to come interrupt my conversation that I'm having with somebody else, Mm-hmm. So there are some books. I can't remember. My friend is like an amazing networker. So maybe I'll like send you some recommendations, and then you can put it in the show notes. Mm-hmm. Because she is amazing at networking, and she actually invited me to a BNI event one time, and I was so uncomfortable. I just went and sat down until the meeting started, and she came over to me and she said, "What are you doing? You have to mingle with people." And I'm like, I can't do this. So she went and she introduced me to someone, and then I started talking to them, and then other people came over. So just getting someone who's comfortable with networking and can introduce you to people, that's a really great way to break into it.
Yeah, I think networking events are hard for most people.
Yeah.
But again, it's it's something that as a business owner, it's important to do, getting to know new people, kind of expanding your network in reach and resources. And yeah, you gave some good tips. Definitely practice. I think very important to, if you do know that you have maybe some additional struggles connecting and feeling comfortable in those environments, really making a list maybe of like, what is your goal today? Maybe you have a goal of meeting 2 new people. That's not crazily overwhelming. Maybe you're in a room with like 20, 10, 30, but you feel like you can handle the energy to get to know 2 new people today and exchange business cards and see if you can maybe follow up and connect with them. So maybe make a goal before, maybe write down some strategies of how you're going to do it. Maybe write down some questions that you're going to ask that person. And we interviewed Angelica Pompey here on the podcast before, and she talks about connecting with people in networking events and, asking open-ended questions, making sure that you come in, you ask questions, and then you let that person talk and look for opportunities to find something that you can use to connect, right? Maybe we just met, I asked you about, the event, and you mentioned something about your kids, and I'm like, oh, I have kids too. How old are your kids? So now you're connecting over the fact that you have kids, but you're here trying to grow your business and how you feel about, not being with your kids versus being here. And then from there, you create a genuine connection. So I think the practice and really maybe writing down some goals for that event, it will make a huge difference in helping me, get over that fear, and make some good strategies to make good use of that networking opportunity.
Yeah, and scheduling one-to-one to connects is really important, I think. So meeting people outside of the networking event, because that's where I feel like I get the most like return on investment, I guess you could say. Just connecting one-on-one and having a deeper conversation, and then just going from there.
Can you share a significant turning point or maybe breakthrough in your business that was influenced by your approaching to handling your ADHD?
Yeah, when I got help with my business and got an accountability partner, it really changed because I was just like, well, now I'm accountable. And I'm a people pleaser. So I want to please that person. So I don't want them to be disappointed in me. But that's when I really started making more gains in my business. So I added behavior intervention, I added parent coaching. And to make those things happen, I actually had to really try in my business because with music therapy, I'm one of the only music therapy agencies in Boise. And so if people are on Medicaid, I'm on a list on Medicaid and they just know where to come, So honestly, it's not that hard getting music therapy clients. But a turning point was when I was like, I want to add more services and I actually have to work at getting clients because no one's going to come. Like there's lots of people that do parent coaching. There's lots of people that do behavior intervention. So getting help with my business and getting an accountability partner. Wendy Lawson does a 90-day slay, and that changed my life. I don't know why, but I do know why I've never been able to use a planner. That's just a neurodivergent thing that we tend to not be able to use planners very well.
Same.
And her planner is amazing. And I got stuff done. So you set goals in 90-day increments. It's not like a year goal. And you set goals like longer, but you really focus on your goals for 90 days. And you make a roadmap of what you're going to do. And it has step-by-step instructions, of how you're going to get this goal done. And that has changed my business. I'm able to just focus in on that one goal. And when I get all my ideas that I want to do, I'm just like, no, this is what I'm doing. Here's my roadmap. Here's how I'm going to get it done. So just going step by step. But yeah, that really changed things for me.
That's good. In what ways do you think the business world can become more inclusive and supportive of neurodivergent entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is letting things that you're supposed to do, like in quotes, let that go and just let people do their own thing, come up with new ideas. I feel like in the business world, it's very stuffy, like you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this to be successful. Just letting people change that and letting ideas and creativity flow. I think that's important. And, for people who need certain things to thrive, like understanding that and accommodating that. So I know this one guy who he has autism, and every time he gets a new job, it's not like he gets new jobs all the time, but when he gets a new job, he will take his accommodations that he needs and he'll give them to his boss and his coworkers. And he'll say, this is what I need to be successful. Can you accommodate this? Or like, what things can you not accommodate? Let's talk about this. And then he just gives them a list of things that he needs. So learning to accommodate that in people and asking them, like, what do you need? I think it would be very beneficial too.
So being more upfront, communicating what you need, not being afraid to ask for something different if that's going to help you be successful.
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
his things that he needed were like, don't come knock on my door, email me if you have something. Let's schedule a time. Don't just come and expect me to have a conversation with you, when you need it. Like, let's schedule a time. And they were very reasonable accommodations that we just don't think about a lot in the business world. So, yeah.
How do you manage the balance between accommodating your neurodivergent needs and meeting the demands of like running your own business?
That is a great question. It's easy for me to kind of run the business because my hyper focus is my business. So when like people are like, what's your hobby? And I'm like, it's my business. I love running my business. I love doing the new ideas, but really taking time out to decompress because I can get all in my business. And then my kids are like, we miss you. We want to play with you, all that. But having outside things, my husband is really good at reminding me to stop working. And so having someone there who is like, you need to do something else, like, let's go do this as a family. Let's go on a date. Because I would just work all the time. Just taking time out and having other things to do is really important. And if your business is not your hyper focus and it's hard for you to run your business, like taking musical breaks while you're running your business. So that might look like, I work from home a lot. And so I can go, if I get overwhelmed with something that I'm doing, just go and play the piano for a few minutes. And when I play the piano, it helps me process the thing that I'm doing because I'm not only thinking about that. I'm also, playing the piano, so I have to think about that. But then I'm able to let my mind wander. Or you can go listen to music or go for a walk or something, like that. Just take care of yourself, just the self-care things.
So my final question for you, for neurodivergent individuals who might be a little hesitant to pursue their dreams of owning their own business because of their diagnosis, maybe they have ADHD or something else that they feel like is going to keep them from being successful. What is your message that you like to share to encourage them?
Yeah, I have heard that most entrepreneurs are actually neurodivergent because if you have your own business, you create your schedule, you create, like what you're going to do for the most part. It depends what you're doing. So like if I have clients that I'm seeing, I can't just decide not to go see them that day. Like I have to stick to that schedule. But for the most part, if you're doing something, you can create a flexible schedule. You can create like those breaks if you need them. I like entrepreneurship because there's enough things that I don't get bored. And that's something important for my neurodivergent brain, that I need things. I need dopamine hits, so I can do something for a little bit. And then there's another thing that I need to do. And then there's another thing I need to do. It's not just doing music therapy all day long, every day. It's not just doing one thing all the time. So there's different things that I can change to. So I think entrepreneurship was like made for neurodivergent people. As long as you're self-aware, know your limits, and get help where you need help. So if I was left to my own devices, like I would not be a successful entrepreneur but I know where I need help now. And that did take trial and error. I didn't just start my business and like have someone helping me. But I think if you're an entrepreneur and you want to be an entrepreneur, getting like an accountability partner or a business coach or someone to help you stay on track can really be beneficial.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Samantha, for coming and being part of the Accidental CEO podcast. Tell everybody, where can they find you if they want to learn a little bit more about what you do?
Yeah, I am on Instagram at Boise Music Therapy Company, or you can go to my website, boisemusictherapycompany.com. And I also have a podcast where we celebrate neurodiversity and give parenting strategies for people who are raising neurodivergent kids. And that's Every Brain is Different. And you can find that, on any of the podcast places like Apple, Amazon, all those places. So
That's a great
that's where you
service.
can find me.
Definitely go give it a listen. And thank you so much again. It was an amazing episode. I really love all the great tips. And we hope to see all of you in the next episode of the Accidental CEO podcast.
Thank you.
Bye. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Accidental CEO podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us in the world where creativity and business strategy collide. I am Nada Salvatore, thrilled to have shared this time with you. Remember, every episode is a step closer to mastering the art of being an accidental CEO. So don't miss out. Hit subscribe, drop us a sweet review, and spread the word to your creative tribe. Your next big breakthrough could be just one episode away. Join us next time for more insights, laughs, and actionable tips. Keep pushing boundaries, dreaming big, and embracing the beautiful chaos of entrepreneurship. Here's to make magic happen in your business and beyond.